morning and welcome back into my yard today, into the garden. I'm going to give you a bit of a tour around the things that I forgot to show you in the last garden video. I have a few new bathtub setups, and I want to show you all the fruit trees that I have along the rock wall over there and how they're progressing and why they're taking so long to move forward and become really good producers. But it is such a beautiful day here this morning. It's a bit cool, slightly overcast. How about we get to it and I start showing you some of these new features and some old features that I didn't show in the last garden video. You would have seen when I panned over the garden that I have these two new bathtubs, and they're just old recycled bathtubs on metal frames. So in this first one here I have a couple of lots of rhubarb, and I've planted turnips in all of these rows, but once again they're old seeds and I'm not too sure whether they're going to come up or not. I have noticed that I have got a lot of little volunteer tomatoes coming up, so if nothing else I'll have a lot of tomatoes. I think they're all tomatoes as well, so we'll see what happens. But then over in this other bed, I definitely know I've had some success over here. In this back row here I planted beetroot. Now all of the seeds that have gone in recently have been older seeds, so if I get anything from them, that's great. If I don't, well, at least I tried. But I definitely have some beetroots coming up in here with some tomatoes as well, and some other greens. I'm thinking these might even be mustard greens, I'm not sure. I planted spinach in every second row. I'm not liking the success rate of that, but the radishes, this is multicolored radishes, and they have all seemed to have come up. Moving on from those bathtubs is our aquaponics. Now we've got two that's running and one that is not running. It's empty. It's got some lovely weeds in it, but that's about it. In saying that, these two garden beds have a lot of weeds in it as well. But there's also a lot of edibles in there. There's some broccoli and some small leaf kale. There's yellow cherry tomatoes. I'm not too sure what else is in there. There might be some chilies. There's some mushroom herb and other stuff in the far one. Matt and I have this little agreement that the top is my domain, and what is in the tanks and the care for it is his domain, because I have too much other stuff to do. He can worry about feeding the fish and the animals that are in the aquaponics, and I will plant out these top ones. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with them this season. I'm just not too sure what I'm going to plant in there. Obviously lettuces and stuff like that grow really well in the aquaponics. I might do that. I might try growing some determinate tomatoes in here because they don't ramble so much, not as much as these indeterminate yellow cherry tomatoes do. Please feel free to message me with any of your suggestions. I am open to ideas all the time. So hopefully in the next week or so I'll get to this and I'll clear it out and we'll start replanting that fairly soon. The rock wall that runs along the side of our property has always been a huge issue on growing plants in it. I've always had the idea of just having fruit trees along here with a ground cover of maybe nasturtiums and a few other different things that can bring in the pollinators. Still edible, because my whole garden, apart from a couple of items, is 100% edible, and that's the function that I'm looking for. I'm looking for anything that's edible. Now, the reason being this rock retaining wall has been such a hard one to keep plants alive and everything, backs onto all of this beautiful, beautiful bushland. which was one of the selling points of this property because we don't have a neighbour on that side. We've only got 1/4 of an acre here, so it is lovely to have all of that bushland there. We aim to, in the future, change this fence along here to a black pool fence and probably put really small square mesh on it so that the snakes don't come over as well. So let's get started over in the corner here. So at the edge of the veggie patch we have some beautiful bananas which are doing all right. It's getting better and better as the years go on here, but definitely the neighbour's patch over there does way better. Stays moister, I think, so that's why. Back to the retaining wall. I have pineapples up in here, but they're starting to get a little bit shaded out, so I'm not too sure how well they're going to go. They haven't produced a huge amount yet, but they've all come from pineapple tops, not pups, so I am looking at a good 2 years, so they should start producing anytime soon. And then we have a lemonade. Now that's been great, but the possums love eating the fruit before I can get to it. I've had a couple from this tree, but once again, these are only young trees. We've only been in this property for 5 years, and I think this tree is probably about 4 years old. But like I said, we've got to battle all the roots and stuff from the parkland behind it, and it's very clayey soil, so it needs a lot of amending. And it's slowly happening, but you know, it just takes time. I have set up, when we dug the holes for all of the plants along here, I don't know if you can see this down here, but we put in some ag drain down the hole and planted the fruit tree next to it, so we can deep water, root water all the plants, which has been extremely helpful. I have an extremely battling orange tree here, which I had an orange in there beforehand and it actually died off, and this one doesn't seem to be doing really great either. It has died off, but then it's produced some more greenery, so we'll just see what happens with that. The lemon tree, I am super impressed with this year because this is the first batch of lemons that we're going to get off it, and they are coming in nice and they're almost ready, and there's lots of new ones and lots of flowers coming along, so you know, it is all just a matter of time. I have tried putting in nasturtium seeds and stuff along this retaining wall as well. They go okay. They definitely need more water and not to fight so much with the bushland there. I have started running a line for a watering system here. I just need to I need to put the sprinklers on it, and the drippers and all that sort of stuff, and then get it connected to a pressure pump and tank that's out the back of Matt's shed, which can then water this, and then hopefully the trees will grow a bit better and a bit stronger and get it looking nicer. But it's all in the plan, and it all takes time, so we'll get there eventually. After the lemon, we have this Loquat Tree. So it is actually starting to do really well. It's got some beautiful new leaves, and it's starting to grow up and be nice. So hopefully it's established its root system and it just cruises. I have a couple of plants that have gone really well on this retaining wall. So just a little bit of tarragon. So when it's actually in season for tarragon, this looks really beautiful out here because you get the lovely yellow flowers and it attracts the pollinators, and it does look really good. We have a dwarf lime here, and I've got another dwarf lime out the front which has been fruiting, but this one has only put off a couple of fruit and is only just starting to flower again now, as you can see just down here. So but it hasn't been in as long as the one out the front. So hopefully this one is just going to start producing lots of limes for us as well. And as we move on, a little bit of garden decoration. I have chocolate mint in this pot, and I like this pot for the chocolate mint because A, it contains it, but it's also a self-watering pot, so I don't have to come out and water as often. But that chocolate mint is really, really good in smoothies. You know how I said I've got a couple of trees that grew really well in this retaining wall? Well, this one behind me is one of them. This is a donut peach, and it has actually loved being on the retaining wall, and it is cruised, and it has just come, it's just starting to set its fruit. It looks like it's going to have way more fruit than it did last season. I just have to make sure I cover it up early enough so once again the possums don't get it. The possums ate, I think I had 10 fruits set, and I only ended up getting like 3 of the fruit. The possums ate the rest of them. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully I can get to it before the possums eat it all. And a Barbados Cherry. Now that is the other one that has just absolutely loved this retaining wall, and I don't really have to care for it except pruning it. I actually forgot to show you the other day when I took you on the garden tour of this garden over here. Matt was given a couple of coffee plants. Now it's not something that I would have gone out and bought, but because it was given to me, it was like, yes, I'll plant it. That'll be fantastic. So in the corner of all the mulched area heading towards the retaining wall, I have this little coffee plant. Now it's looking a little bit sun damaged, but the new shoots that are coming through are looking absolutely perfect. And I also forgot to show you this. I planted a row of sunflower seeds. So hopefully, my idea for the sunflowers is I've got the coffee tree just here. Not too sure what I'm going to put in that bathtub there. And then just behind the bathtub is the row of sunflowers, so I can sit up in my area and see these beautiful big sunflowers in front of the bananas, just enjoying and soaking up and making everything out here look so happy and cheery. Because we were given a couple of coffee trees, I decided that I would try out this pot and plant one in the pot. And it, once again, is a little bit sunburnt, but I think the next lot of leaves that come through, it's sun hardened now, so it should do just fine. Very dry and sick looking oregano. Once again, it's just this retaining wall. Keeping up moisture to it is so hard, and getting the right soil at the moment is it is a very hard effort. What I want to do when we change the fence is I want to dig a concrete channel about half a meter deep and concrete it at the base of the fence, so that the roots from over here can't come in, and you give this area a better chance of survival. Now this aloe vera, I mean, it's serving its purpose by covering the land, covering the earth, but I don't use it, so I'm thinking of taking it out, but I'm not too sure what I want to put in there. I have another space for just here and then just over there, so I have another 2 spaces for some fruit trees that I can plant in here. So we'll I still need to figure out what I want to do with this area, and then also moving on to this 5-in-1 herb. It's wonderful. This 5-in-1 herb will grow anywhere. It doesn't mind being a little bit rejected, and it doesn't mind getting lots of moisture as well. So it really does serve its purpose here for covering, and then being able to come out and use a leaf here and there. I don't use it as often as I probably should, but it's still in the garden, and it sets off little pretty flowers and brings in the pollinators. So, you know, it serves its purpose. This is a white mulberry. I only put it in last year and it really struggled. As you can see, it hasn't started putting off any other shoots up higher, even though that they're still green. So we'll see how that one goes, and we might quite baby it for a while, and hopefully we get some good white mulberries off there, because I quite like the taste of the white mulberries. They're sweeter than your black mulberries, and obviously they don't stain your hands. Now, from the opposite side of the retaining wall, we actually have another little retaining wall. We had to build up our land so that we had a flat space to put everything, and put in Matt's great big shed there. So I have, I have all of these pots along here, which I've planted out. Once again, they've all got edibles in it. A blueberry, which is coming into fruit now. This blueberry has got so much fruit on it. I actually haven't seen it with so much fruit. So as they say, as the years go by, you get better and better produce, and things settle into to where they're meant to be. Now this one's a first for me. I've decided to keep it in this pot, only because I know it sends off shoots, and I don't want it to take, I think it'd do really well in the retaining wall, but I don't want it to take over the retaining wall there. This is an elderberry. So I've only had it for about 6 months, and I only put it in this pot 3 weeks ago. It's loving its transfer into this pot. It's put out a whole heap of new shoots, and we will just see. I'll keep it trimmed and just to fit the pot size, and hopefully we get some elderberries, and we can play and muck around with that. And then in this next big pot here, we have a Moringa tree. Now that Moringa has been going okay. It flowers. It hasn't had any great big seed pods or anything like that on it, but it produces leaves, and I've managed to have enough leaves that I can dry. So I've got some Moringa powder inside, and because it's just coming out of winter, it's still quite sparse, but I think it'll come along quite nicely and start enjoying being in that pot and produce well. So we'll see how that goes. This is kind of like my forgotten garden. It's definitely the garden that has to survive by itself, but it actually does a really good job of surviving by itself and producing nice, healthy plants. I think it captures the water nicely. The only time I really ever come out this side is to hang my washing on the line, obviously to do a bit of maintenance and then to pick the produce. But over this side I have this grape. Yes, this grape, and it is starting to bud and come back into life. So they were a really tasty grape. It's called Black Isabella, and it's obviously a black grape, but it's very fruity flavour, and it's very florally nice flavour. I really enjoyed it, and I got a good harvest from it last year. So I'm thinking this year, if I end up getting too much, I might just put it through the juicer and end up just having that really nice grape juice that I can use in my kombuchas and stuff like that. This side of the house definitely has a lot of ground cover. It's not a very big space. I think it's only around about 1 metre wide, except for this little bit of the corner here, that's a bit wider. But for most of the garden bed, it is only about 1 metre wide. So I have oregano, and this here is called mushroom herb. Not related to mushrooms at all, but tastes like mushrooms. And then I also have a lot of this Thai coriander, I think it's called. It's the prickly coriander, and it's got a really strong coriander flavour to it. And then some of my nice Thai basil, which always brings the bees around. I'm going to gather some of these seeds here and sprinkle them out into the other garden bed so that I can have some of that Thai basil out there now that it's all mulched, and I can have some that is, in the mulched area and not actually in the garden bed. A whole heap of tarragon, and that absolutely, once again, that looks really pretty when it flowers, and it really brings in the pollinators. Look at this, back to my grape. Look at that. It's coming out into beautiful blossom. There's so many of them. It's fantastic to see. it's always good because then you know you haven't killed them. And kumquat, this is taking a little while, but I have got some really good fruit off it, and I just come out here every day and pick a couple of fruit and just eat them just to get a good vitamin C boost. There's that Oregano spinach again, and lemon balm. I picked up this lemon balm at the shops at Coles one day in the, the rooted, just in the fruit and veg section, and they have the rooted plants. It looked really sick, and there was lemon balm, and it was going out for 50 cents. So I've already definitely got my 50 cents worth, and it is only going to get bigger and better from here. I'm really hoping that this pomegranate behind me, it's just starting to come back into bud and leaves and stuff after the winter. So I'm just waiting to get some fruit on that, some flowers on it, sorry, and then hopefully it'll fruit. It flowered for me last season but didn't set any fruit, so we'll see how it goes this year. I'll keep you guys updated. And then next to that is a Barbados Cherry. Now I took the cutting from the Barbados on the rock wall and planted it here because opposite these bigger trees are bedroom windows from our house, and I just wanted to get a little bit of privacy from through the bedrooms to the next door neighbours. So we did that, and this lovely corner of nasturtiums. So I have plenty of nasturtiums to play with and move around and take out from one spot and put into other spots. Oh, and I have some fennel that comes up every year without fail. I let it go to seed and it comes up. So I definitely have a lot of volunteer plants in this garden, and that's actually the way I like it. I really like the volunteers. I find that they grow better, they're stronger, healthier. And also by letting things go to seed, you're allowing the pollinators to come in and enjoy the garden. And there's just so many benefits of that. So doing that and then getting volunteers is, for me, is just so worth it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I have a friend that comes in all the time and she goes, "You're so good at letting everything go to flower and then go to seed." And I said, "Yeah, but that's because I like bringing in the pollinators, and I actually have a beehive, so I want to make sure my bees are getting food that's close." I mean, I know they've got that because of all the bushland that we've got, but it's just it's nice to know that I'm helping provide for that. And bees and pollinators are really important in our environment, because if we don't have them, we won't have the food that we have in the shops. So if we don't take care of all of those beautiful little pollinators, then we're not going to have sustainability for the future. I've brought you around to my front garden now, and this is a garden I don't show people very, like, obviously when people come to my house they see it, but I don't think I've ever shown it here on YouTube before. I'm standing underneath a Panama berry, which produces a really delicious sweet, it's also known as cotton candy, delicious little sweet red berry. It grows really well in this little area. Like my side garden, my front garden isn't very wide either, because we have a stormwater easement going along the side of our property. So this here is just over a metre, I think it is, 1.5 metres, something like that, in this whole front garden, which goes to the edge of our property. So I have the Panama berry in the corner, and now down on the ground, I decided the other day that I wanted that mint to be somewhere else apart from just in those containers, and I thought this was the perfect area because it's not going to take over anything that it shouldn't, because it comes out onto the lawn and it'll just get mowed, and I don't think it'll ever go down and over onto the easement, because we have it's brick, and I think it'll just get too hot and die before it manages to get all the way down. So I decided to plant some of the chocolate mint here, and then on the other side of this of this tree. I just planted straight, just your normal mint. And all of these corianders that you see here, they're all volunteers. They've just come up because I've scattered seeds, and then over the years I've let it go to seed, and it just drops and does some more. These garlic chives, they're doing okay. They could probably need a little bit more water than what I give them. This is kind of a bit of a rejected section of my garden. It's if it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. I have a red dragon fruit, which we've only just recently trellised up that post, so I'm not too sure whether we'll get any fruit off that this year. This here is a red grapefruit. It has really been struggling, but I've started taking a bit more care of it now, so I hopefully it cruises. It's got some nice new green shoots on it. Now this was covered in mites and stuff, and so I came out here with my Kefaway and poured it all over the tree, and it seems to have worked. And then from there I've just got some nasturtiums and some coriander that's gone to seed. So I left this mustard green came up by itself, and I've let it just go to seed, and once again bring in the pollinators because they're good and beneficial for the garden. Now this is that other dwarf lime that I was talking about. This has been in the ground for several years now, and it produces really well. We don't have any fruit ready for picking right now. We finished the last one probably about a month ago, but the amount of flowers on this is just amazing. And then we just finish off with a bay leaf tree and some lemon thyme, which I took some of this lemon thyme and planted it out near that coffee plant that's in the wood chip out the back. Oh, and I forgot to show you something. I planted some sunflower seeds out here just over a week ago, and I noticed the other day that they've germinated. So hopefully they cruise along. So hopefully the idea of them being out here is just to make anyone who drives in our street feel happy and welcome, and maybe bring a smile to their face. So I'm pretty pleased about that, because I wasn't too sure whether these seeds were going to germinate or not. Like I said, they are older seeds, so I'm so happy that they are. Thank you so much for coming on that little walk around on the bits and pieces of my garden that aren't the main part of the garden today. And look, if you have any questions, please send me a message, and I'll try and answer them for you. If you have any suggestions for my garden, I'm open to any suggestions, so please forward them on to me as well. Big hugs. Until next time.